optimistic situation. New contracts were hard to find, and this particular employer had shown no concern over price. The two men felt that to make a good first impression was very much in their long-term interest. They were hard at work loading their truck with every last plaster fragment when the employer himself stopped by.
"All done?"
he asked. The employer was a huge guy, freakishly bloated, with a high voice and two nickel-sized red spots burning on his pale cheeks. He moved lightly and quietly, like a guy a quarter his size. The overall effect was a guy people looked away from and answered quickly. "Just clearing up," the first guy said to him. "Where do we dump this stuff?"
"I'll show you," the employer said. "You'll need to make 2 trips. Bring those boards separately, right?"
The second guy nodded. The floorboards were 18 inches wide from back when lumbermen had the pick of any tree they wanted. No way would they fit into the flatbed with the rest of the junk. They finished loading the plaster and their employer squeezed into their truck with them. He was such a big guy, it made for a tight fit. He pointed beyond the old building.
"Drive north,"
he said.
"About a mile."
The road led them straight out of town and then wound upward through some steep bends. The employer pointed to a place.
"In there,"
he said.
"All the way and back, okay?"
He strolled quietly away, and the two guys unloaded their truck, drove it back south and heaved the old pine boards in, followed the winding bends again and unloaded. They carried the boards inside and stacked them neatly, all the way in back of the dark space. Then the employer stepped out of the shadows. He had been waiting for them. He had something in his hand. "We're all done," the first guy said. The employer nodded.
"You sure are,"
he said. His hand came up. He was holding a gun, a dull black automatic. He shot the first guy in the head. The crash of the bullet was deafening. Blood and bone and brains sprayed everywhere. The second guy froze in terror. Then he ran. He launched himself sideways in a desperate sprint for cover. The employer smiled. He liked it when they ran. He dropped his huge arm to a shallow angle, fired, and put a bullet through the back of the guy's knee. Smiled again. Now it was better. He liked it when they ran, but he liked it better when they were squirming on the floor. He stood and listened to the guys yelping for a long moment. Then he strolled quietly over and took careful aim, put a bullet through the other knee. He watched for a while, then he tired of the game, shrugged and put a final bullet through the guy's head. Then he laid the gun on the ground and rolled the two bodies